Well, I'm here to answer questions mostly. Any questions that you have, we're right in the middle of 2 days. We got this sounds like every coach in America. We got a long way to go. We got a few injuries that we have some guys have to get well. I do believe this team is we make progress every day. So sometime during the season we're going to be a good football team. I mean, I'm hoping it's right off the bat. If I was guessing right now, I would say it's not right off the bat. It'll be partway through the season that we'll be a pretty darn good football team. But we still got a week and a half to practice, so maybe we'll make gigantic steps in the next week and a half, and we'll be a good football team right from the start, because we're not right now.
Coach, is that kind of alarming with arguably your toughest game of the season coming up in about 10 days now?
Well, I don't know if that's going to be our toughest game, but they are a good football team. It's not alarming at all. I've been doing this forever. This is normal. It's not alarming. It's normal. The only time you have confidence that you're going to have a good football team right from the start is when you have about 30 seniors on your team. And we don't have very many seniors, and only about 6 of them are starting.
So, Rocky, is this a status quo that you feel every season with 10 games to go, or are there greater concerns about what you're seeing in particular?
No, what I'm saying, last year we had a lot more mature football team than we do this year. I think, I don't know exactly, I think we had 23 seniors, and at least 13 or 14 of the seniors were starting. So we were a lot more mature football team last year than we are at this time this year. Most of it's experience and age, and just like everything else. And the younger the team is, they make progress. They continually make progress, but they're not ready for showtime until they get in the show, and they have to be beat around some a little bit for 2 or 3 weeks, and then guess what? And then they're veterans. And when they become veterans, they start playing better, and they start playing at the level of the competition.
Rocky, how much more of an onus has that put on your older guys, and how have they accepted that responsibility to kind of help bring these guys along?
Well, our team is totally developed with senior leadership. I mean, obviously, when you don't have as many and not as many starting, I think it's tougher on them because our expectation level is so high. I mean, we expect to be a good football team. We've been a pretty good football team for 2 years, and right now, I think that we're a young, kind of immature football team, and we have to mature. And the only mature guys we have are the seniors, so they have to lead by example. It's not the day and age where they yell and scream and give pep talks and all that stuff. It's more by example on how hard they work.
When you look at the film from the last few days, what are now the biggest areas of concern? Do they kind of remain the same?
Yeah, I don't think they've changed. I don't think they changed from day one. I think the D line's the biggest concern, and then probably the offensive line's the next biggest concern. So when you have a concern at the line of scrimmage, that makes you a little nervous because I think we have really good skill. I think our quarterbacks are fine. I think we have good running backs in the program. I think we have good receivers in the program. I think we got good linebackers and secondary that have experience. Where we don't have a lot, I think we've got some talented guys up front. Don't get me wrong. I think we have some talented defensive linemen, and I think we have some talented offensive linemen. But that's where our immaturity is. I mean, we lost 3 starters in the offensive line, and we're going to play a whole bunch of redshirt freshmen and sophomores in the defensive line. And the only way for them to get better is to go up against the good teams and play hard and learn, and pretty soon they'll be good too. Now we're a whole lot better now than we were 2 weeks ago. I mean, last night's practice was our best practice of the fall. I mean, we were physical on both sides of the ball, and the offensive and defensive linemen kind of beat up on each other, and it looked like a real college football team. And up until last night, we have not looked at it like a real college football team.
So we should just never come to any practice.
And so you can't make your own judgment, so I'm telling you what to think.
How specifically do you think the offensive line is shaking out now?
Well, and I don't know where I've said this, but I think it happened in the scrimmage that we had on Saturday too. I think our offense, if we play a team that's a conservative on defense, and there are a lot of teams that are conservative on defense, we'll be fine. Because I think they're talented enough and we're big enough and strong enough that we'll hold our own. I don't know if we'll dominate, but we'll hold our own and give our skill athletes a chance to do what they do and make some plays and score some points. When you play, and some of this is part of when you practice against our defense. When you play an unusual defense and a defense that takes chances and lines up 100 different ways, it's really, really hard on young offensive linemen. I mean, it's hard enough for them to know their assignment, and then all of a sudden the guy they were blocking moves and another guy shows up and a guy from the secondary comes off the edge and they don't know exactly who to block. If they don't know exactly who to block, it's hard to block them. Okay? So some of it is and we're going to go starting Thursday, it's going to be nothing but Washington and nothing but scout teams. So I'm sure that our offensive line will feel a lot more comfortable when we get to the game than they do right now. And to be honest with you, on defense, we experiment. We do some stuff that's unsound just to see if it'll work the rest of the passer. So it's not unusual for an offensive lineman to see three guys coming in the spot that he's supposed to block. That's hard to do no matter who you are. Now, we're not going to use some of those because they didn't work very well. But if they ever work very well, they see them over and over and over again, too.
How would you characterize Washington's defense of being a fairly simplified defense versus a fairly complicated?
Now, that's a great question because we have no idea what their defense is going to be. To be honest with you, we can't watch any of their films. So last year they had a defense coordinator that their head coach fired. And they hired a new defense coordinator that came from Tennessee but was also at Boise State. So you can kind of try to base off what you saw of a Tennessee film to make your game plan. But as you watch our practice, some people watch their practices too. And as you guys film our practice, other people watch they film their practices too. Now, they've closed their practices down and you can't get in. But early on in practice, everybody that has a little telephone or a camera that views that stuff's online. And what we've seen online, none of it's even close to what he did at Tennessee. So I think we're going in a tunnel and it's really, really dark. Because we have no idea what they're going to do on defense. None whatsoever. Now, their offense, we know, they're going to run the same offense. And for you that saw the bowl game against Baylor, it was like there was no defense out there. They're so good, they scored every time they had the ball. The other team just outscored them. And they got most of those guys back. So I can talk about that because I've seen that on film.
How do you think your defense matches up against that?
We're going to be all right. We're a high-risk defense. That means that we'll make some plays, and that means they'll make some plays. We just got to make more than they do. See, now that I told you we know nothing about Washington, there's nothing to talk about, right?
What's the injury update?
We got. I think we've got 3 broken bones now. As practices get more aggressive, the injuries start to mount. I think Chad Jeffries broke his forearm in one of the scrimmages. He's a freshman quarterback, and he's getting operated on today. They estimate 5 to 6 weeks before he's well. I'm trying to think who else. You already knew about our offensive lineman with the broken ankle. I'm trying to think who else. J.J. Whitaker. And now that's a technical term. He's broken something in his shoulder. So he'll be out for 4 or 5 weeks. And that's all estimate. Now, Dylan Denzel broke his finger, and they've already operated on him. And the conservative estimate is he'll be practicing the week of the first game. Now, he hasn't practiced since, but that was only 3-4 days ago that he got hurt. You know, and then we got the normal bumps and bruises and strained muscles and all that stuff. And some of the guys we're more careful with than other guys because they're veterans and we know they can play, so they get time to heal up, and the other ones don't get time to heal up because they're trying to make the squad or trying to make where they get to play.
Is Escobar okay?
He's going to be okay. He's not okay right now. He's got a strained knee, nothing serious, and he's one of those guys that will take it real easy on. But there again, the doctors give me the estimates. The estimate is he'll be fine by next Sunday, ready to practice next Sunday.
Gordon, left guard.
Oh, he's fine. He practiced both practices yesterday.
Feel badly for Whitaker. I mean, that kid has gone through so much, 2 knees, now this.
Yeah, I mean I think it's the luck of the draw. So, some guys have some problems and some guys don't. Yeah, it's really too bad for him.
Punting situation, it kind of made national headlines and whatnot, but during the scrimmage, you guys sort of, went with it differently, just punting casually. Was that sort of the plan heading in, or during the scrimmage?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it has turned into, the way I read those things now is that we're never ever punting. That is not what I said. What I said is we're toying with the idea of once we get across the 50-yard line of going for it on 4th down. Isn't that what I said?
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we did on Saturday. That's exactly what we did on Saturday. When the ball was not over the 50-yard line, we punted. And when the ball was over the 50-yard line, you didn't see one punt. You didn't see a punt. You didn't see a field goal. You didn't see an extra point. When they scored, they went for 2, and they went for every 4th down. Okay, now we're still considering whether we're going to do that or not, but that's the way we've practiced from day one in camp. So that's what I said. I said when we cross the 50, we're considering not punting. I knew that was going to come up because in the scrimmage we punted several times. But it was always before we got to the 50. But the word has gotten out that we're never punting again. So that is not what I said, and that is not what I meant. And we will, in the scrimmage, we had a plan. If one team could get down there and a field goal would have won the game, we would have kicked a field goal. Okay, so now that's the idea. Now whether it's going to happen on our first game or not, that's yet to be determined.